Hi, welcome to How to Repair. This video is on an old fridge freezer and I'm going to show you how to do a thermostat change on this fridge freezer for under £15. Basically you have an STC 1000. The thermostat on this fridge freezer has failed. It's an old make. The genuine thermostat is obsolete. There is a possibility to get mechanical thermostats to fit it, but rather than wasting my time and not having the versatility with the probe lengths and everything else, I'm going to fit one of these very cheap Elitech STC 1000s, which will give me total control over the fridge freezer and is a very affordable repair, which would only normally take you 20-30 minutes to wire up, but fitting the actual thermostat to somewhere safe, you'd need to look around the fridge freezer for the best places to fit it. So here we have the old thermostat unit. It's a mechanical thermostat. This is the most basic version there is. We do all the Elitech range with auto defrost systems, also twin compartment units, and also for commercial environment as well. There's 30-40 different type of Elitech thermostats to choose from to do each individual fridge freezer with a conversion kit, which will save you an absolute fortune. Normally, if this was a good quality fridge freezer, this is only going to be used for a beer cooler in a bar most probably. So I would normally want to fit it in the cavity here so you could actually see the display. It's not worth going to the effort on this fridge freezer. So I've had a look round. There's not enough room to fit it at the top because the door and the trim interfere. You could actually make a compartment inside for this, but the electrics will be exposed. So I've decided on this fridge freezer I'm going to leave the thermostatic system exactly as it is, and I'm going to go to the side of the fridge freezer and fit it on there. Right, as I said, I'm going to fit it in the side here, and is enough space for me to cut a hole here because I know there's no pipe work, and I can have the thermostat just at the side so the client can actually control the temperature of the fridge. I'm then going to run a wire down to the compressor and fit the probe inside the fridge. That's the sensor that actually controls the temperature. Basically I'm going to run a live and neutral up to the relay or thermostat, and I'm going to link across on the live to the relay for the cooling side, and then take a wire from here down to the compressor for it to start the compressor. Basically this is doing the same function as a normal thermostat. You only normally have two wires, one feed into the thermostat, one feed out, but because this has got a digital display we need to bring a neutral up as well. So I'm going to cut the hole in here, fit the wiring down to the compressor, and also fit the probe. So let's get on with the job. Right, the first thing we need to work out is where the timer is going. We're putting it on the side so it fits nicely and the electrics are protected. So we'll have it that way around, and that way the customer can program it from there. So I'll leave enough space for the trim, and so it sits on there nicely. So we're just going to cut out the template. Now we're able to get our jigsaw piece through. Once you've got it cut, filed off, making sure all the edges are good, just double check it goes in, and once we've done the electrics we'll put the locking tabs on the other side. So that's done. The next thing we need to do is to remove the cover just to see where our wiring's going, or you could remove the cover on the thermostat inside, but I'm trying not to touch the thermostat inside because it's quicker and easier just to come here. Right, there's our cover. So, as I was saying, this is the live, this is the neutral, and this is the feed coming from the thermostat to the compressor. So we're going to eliminate this feed from the thermostat. We're not going to touch the wiring at the thermostat because it will allow us to still have the light working properly and everything else. We're going to join 3 wires, one to live, one to the neutral. They will both go to the relay. I'll show you that in depth now. So on our STC 1000 we have got a heating circuit which we're not going to use. Basically the power supply comes in on 1 and on 2. We're going to put the live on 1 and loop it across to number 7. Number 2 is our neutral. Do make sure that you check that the feed to the compressor by checking the wiring on the compressor, which you can see in other videos, is correct. This is a live feed. So we're going to remove this completely, and I'm going to put some heat shrink on it just to protect it, and we're going to connect up the live to that, which is going to be our black wire. The terminal size on these is not the large spades, it's the 4.3, just in case you're wondering why you can't get a terminal on there. So we're just going to crimp up. This is a 4.3mm, and we're just going to connect that up to there, and then we'll connect our live and neutral to the 2 associated terminals. I'm just going to trim them off a little bit too long. Okay. So I'll just slide my blue in with that blue. Loosen it a little bit more. Make sure that these are good connections. If you want, you can solder up the ends to make a better connection. So now we've got good connections there. We just need to tidy up the wiring, and we're just going to stick it under this cover here. There should be enough room to get 2 lots of wiring underneath. And there we go, that's in nicely. And now we just need to run the wiring up to the top, and first we'll put a piece of heat shrink on this. So just slide a little bit of heat shrink over. And that will protect that end nicely, and that can just be tucked in. Okay, now we're ready to connect up the thermostat and insert the NTC sensor probe, and then we'll do the wiring onto the Elitech timer. Right, the next thing we've got to do is fit the NTC sensor and take it through to the back of the fridge freezer. Now this is something that you do need to be careful with. We're going to remove the two shelves at the top here. Okay, when the fridge freezer is running, and if you had the fridge freezer was running, you would see an area somewhere around here that will be getting cold. Normally, if you're very careful, you will be able to put a small pilot hole into the plastic or melt the plastic. We're going to put a hole straight through to the back of the cabinet here on this side. Let me bring the camera around so you can see. So we know the plate is getting cold here. I know the rough length of the capillary tube that comes down onto the plate to measure the temperature. I would really want to fit my sensor in the fridge compartment somewhere around this area. So what I'm going to do is put a small pilot hole through, making sure I don't touch any of the pipes that are in the internal side of the fridge freezer. So I'm just going to cut the plastic and then use a screwdriver to poke through, making sure I don't touch any pipework, because if you do damage any pipework, you're going to lose the gas in the fridge freezer and then it's totally had it. So what we're going to do is just put a small pilot hole in here, and I'm going to use some epoxy glue to actually fit the thermostat here. This means as the plate gets cold, we will measure the temperature of the fridge freezer around this point. Now our sensor is that big, okay? So I'm going to use a drill bit which will just allow for the two wires to go through, because I'll thread it through from this side. Now remember what I said, you need only to actually go through the plastic. You do not want to drill into anything inside the foam, because if you do, you might get hit a pipe. So we're just going to put a small pilot hole roughly about here. I'm being very careful not to go into the foam. And I'm using my fingers to make sure I don't slip and go in. There we are, just through the plastic. Now I'm going to widen that hole up slightly with a slightly larger drill bit, because that's not big enough for us to get our wires through. And there we go, nice clean hole. Now I'm going to use a small screwdriver and I know I've gone through the foam and out the back of the fridge freezer. We could go round the other side and have a look, but I'll leave that there for the moment and I'll turn the fridge freezer round and we can have a quick look at that. Now we've got to ease off this panel because our hole that we put in is here. So there's two screws. Make sure you support this because this is where the heat is expelled when it comes out of the fridge freezer, and it's filled with gas, as I said. This is part of the pipework system we did not want to go anywhere near, because if you ruptured any of these pipes you would lose the gas in the fridge freezer, and that's what you wouldn't want to do. So now I can just prise that back. As you can see, I'll just put my screwdriver in like that, and then I can move the camera around for you. So here we have the screwdriver which is poked through and come through the foam at the back here. So what we'll do now is we'll poke our cable through and run that up to where the thermostat is going to go. So I'm going to twist these ends around just so they stay together. And that's not going through. Just going to make sure it's nice and wide. And that's through to the other side now. I'll quickly go round and pull the rest through. And that's about the right length that we need, and we'll actually glue this. In fact, I'll push it through a little bit more. We will actually fit this like that. So I just fitted that. We'll stick the two locking mechanisms on. Just got to shorten the locking mechanism because it's so thick, the area it's going through. So I'll just snip that off. And that's locked into place firmly. Now we're ready to do the wiring. So, as I said, we're going to have live going in on number 1, neutral going in on number 2. Live on number 1 is going to loop through to number 7. Number 8 is our feed coming out of the relay once temperature is required, and that goes down to our compressor. And on number 3 and 4 we have to fit the sensors, so I'll just quickly fit these. I've already put the back of the machine on. Now remember, at the website you can get all these sensors and thermostats, sorry, and we have a full selection of all Elitech thermostats, and I try to put on which type of fridge freezers they most suit. These STs are the cheapest, but they're not the greatest on the defrost systems and others, but they are a very cheap alternative. So I'm putting our 2 lives in there on number 1. Neutral wire can go in there. That tail is a little bit too long as well, so we'll just snip that off. There we go. And as I said, our jump wire goes into number 7. I think I made this a little short, but no, it's okay. So that goes into our number 7. That's our feed from the live. And lastly but not least is our feed to the compressor is going in on number 8. And that's all good connections everywhere there. Right, just put another cable tie and tidy up this wiring. Can all come down the back here, and then we'll put the cover on. Snip that off, snip that off. Now we just need to put our cover on. And this stops. That's fine. Just pop our screw in. Now we'll just glue our probe in place. Right, I've put some silicone just to cover the probe here. That's fine. You could actually do it a little bit tidier. This is only going to be a beer fridge, so we just want it to run correctly. And we're now ready to plug the fridge in. We've now got the fridge freezer set up and ready to turn on. I've also connected our sensor equipment, which you've seen in many other videos. We basically, with our sensor equipment, we're going to be able to see on the graph the run time of the compressor, the temperature in the freezer, the temperature in the fridge, and also the air temperature. and we'll also see by the wattage when the motor comes on and turns itself off. So we'll be able to set this up pretty much spot on, and by doing this I will be able to show you, because not everyone has this. This is normally just for engineers. It is available to the general public as well, but a little bit expensive for your home use. But basically I will give you an idea of what the settings should be on this conventional fridge freezer. This is a single compressor. The gas comes up through the freezer first and then starts cooling the fridge after. So we've got our sensor in the fridge, so we are going to be monitoring the temperature with the thermostat from the fridge, which should give us an automatic temperature of about -16 in the freezer, with an air temperature of somewhere in the region of 4 or 5 degrees in the fridge. The colder the fridge gets, the colder the freezer gets. So if we could take the temperature down in the freezer to 2 degrees, our freezer temperature should be running somewhere in the region of -19, -20. But we'll see this and see how close I am once we plug it into the graph. So first thing we need to do is, we've got the fridge freezer set up. We'll just plug it in, and as you can see, it's come on. Now the compressor is not going to start while this light is flashing for a couple of minutes, because the preset value according to the manual is 3 minutes. But I will show you how to set this up in a second. So let me move my camera so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll adjust the temperatures on this fridge. As you can see at the moment, it's 28.7 degrees in the refrigerator compartment. The compressor's not going to start until it gets to a temperature, the compressor's not going to start for 3 minutes. It's set to start at plus 10 degrees, which will change now in a minute, and our variation is 0.5. This is our differential. This means that if we set the fridge up at a temperature of 4 degrees, the compressor will turn off at 4 degrees, and our differential means that it would turn on at 4.5 and run until it gets to 4 degrees. We're going to change that because that's too much of a close comparison for a fridge freezer. Right, first thing we need to do is set up the temperature. The compressor is already running, and our compressor is going to continue running until the fridge temperature gets down to 10. We want to set this up at 4 degrees. So I'm going to go down into setup mode, hold the finger down on this, F1. Now holding this down, you can adjust the temperature. So we are going to take this down to 4 degrees. To set this, press the on-off button once, and now it is set. So when we change now from, our temperature is set at 4 degrees and our variation or differential is set at 0.5. We need to change this to about 1.5 degrees. This means that the compressor will turn off at 4 degrees but will come back on at 5.5 degrees. So to do this, you need to go back into setup mode, hold the set button for 3 seconds, change this to F2, hold down the set, and we'll try it at 1.5 to start with. Remember the setting, press the on-off button. So now we have a temperature set at 4 degrees and a variation or differential of 1.5. The next thing we're going to set is the compressor shut-off time. This means if the power is cut off from the compressor, in other words, we had a power cut or accidentally disconnected the machine, it's how long the delay time to protect the compressor is set. Now we'll just go into set. We can go F3. It's set at 3 minutes. I'm going to change that for 2 minutes because 2 minutes is fine to let the compressor cool down, lose the pressure before it restarts. Press the on-off button. That is now set. There is one more setting on this, which is the F4, which is calibration of the thermostat itself, or the sensor. So we just go into set, hold it down for 3 seconds, change it to F4, press set again, and as you can see it's set on 00, meaning that the temperature that you're seeing on the screen is exactly what the temperature is on the probe inside the fridge. We're going to leave this exactly as it is. Now if you were using the heating mode for incubators or brewery equipment, whatever, you may want the delay on F2, the differential to be different, and you may need the temperatures to set up different. If you need more features to set up these fridge freezers, there are 30 to 40 different types of Elitech thermostats to control different functions, and I will be talking you through these with refrigeration as the year goes on. So this is set up perfectly now. We'll look at it on the graph. It's going to take about 3-4 hours to get down to temperature, and then we will monitor the fridge freezer and make any adjustments that's needed. Welcome back to How to Repair. Well, now I promised you yesterday, after fitting the Elitech STC 1000 to the fridge freezer, we would have a look at the graph to see what went on. I basically turned it on at 5 o'clock yesterday, and then I went home, left it running overnight, and you can see that it came down in temperature, and by 8 o'clock it had gone into a steady cycling mode. But the problem was I had set this up slightly incorrectly. We only had a temperature cycling -11, -12 in the freezer, with roughly 7 degrees in the fridge. So I came into work, looked at the graph, and then brought it down 1 degree. This brought it down to a cycling temperature of -15, -14. I then decided about 30 minutes later this wasn't enough, so I turned it down another degree. So on F1 we had reduced it from 4 degrees, which we originally set it up, and we set it up on 3 degrees, then set it up on 2 degrees. But although it was reaching -15, -16, and the fridge was coming down to 6, still cycling roughly 6-7 degrees, I had come to the conclusion that I may have placed the probe slightly too close to the evaporator plate, which I was showing you in the fridge compartment. I should have placed it a little bit lower, but it doesn't matter with these Elitech thermostats, because you have a calibration mode. So basically at just after 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, I changed the temperature again. I changed the temperature on F1 to 0.5 degrees, and I changed the variation to 2 on F2, just to give it a little bit of a cycle break. Now I'll just zoom in here, and you can see where I changed the temperature. This is where I changed it to 0.5. It ran for roughly 45-50 minutes, then went into the cycle mode, and basically I was achieving the temperatures which I was looking for, which was roughly 5 degrees in the fridge, and basically the freezer temperature was cycling 18-19 degrees. Very happy with that. So basically all I had to do then was go into F4, add 4.5, because 4.5 is the difference between what the actual sensor is reading and what the air temperature is. So 4.5 plus the 0.5 which was set up on the thermostat gives us the 5 degrees, which is what the air temperature is, and that allows for the controller to look correct on the dial, and actually what the air temperature is from now on is what is on the dial. Very easy to program, very easy to set up. Now if you have got these at home and you want to set them up, you only need to use normal cheap thermostats which you can get from a chemist or the website. Just type in fridge temperature, fridge thermometer, and you'll find them on the website. There's a couple of different types, but just pick with the cheapest ones, and you can put one in the freezer, one in the fridge, and you will be able to calibrate your thermostat by opening the door every 3-4 hours, checking what the temperature is, and then changing the thermostat to suit your needs. I hope you found this video very helpful. Do remember to shop at How to Repair, and if you look at the credits after this part of the video, you will see the other videos we do at the website. And please remember to subscribe to the channel, as that's what keeps us going and able to make these free videos for you. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Remember, you can always support the website by donating to the website by buying us a beer on our Buy Us a Beer page. You've also got washing machine videos, tumble dryer videos, dishwashers, ovens, cookers, hobs and extractors, and many other solar projects which we take part in. Thanks very much indeed for watching again, and do remember, please subscribe to the channel, as that's what keeps us going and able to make these free videos for you.